number key 5 0 2. Press number key to set stop time, then press enter. 5 3 0 2. Press number key to set channel, then press enter. 2 1 1. Program is set. 4 5. Press 5. Press number 6 0 2. Press number key to 5. It's set. For the record timer on, turn the V.
But also every year.
Yeah, you want anything, Todd? I'd like to introduce my wife, Violet Blitzky, and she's been with me for 57 years now. We celebrated our 57th wedding anniversary on July 27, 2003. 57 years, and we're still going strong. And I'm thankful that I got her and I'm still around.
We met on a Sunday afternoon. My girlfriend and I were out for a walk, and all of a sudden we met these two fellows up on Main Street. They were sitting in front of a tavern, so June knew them, and we got talking to them, and they took us for a walk out to Lakeside Park, and the next day Frank come and picked me up, and we went up on the ledge and took a few pictures. And I had known him before that, but I really didn't know him to talk to him, just by sight.
Did you know his brother, Kenny?
Yeah, I knew his brother Kenny. I had a crush on him, but he didn't know I was alive. He had so many girlfriends. And in fact, my girlfriend that I was with, she insisted that his name was Flash. And I said, no. I said, that's Kenny Blitzky. And, well, I know him because he comes work sugar beets out by us. I said, his name is still Kenny. It took me a long time to convince her. But anyway, Frank and I got together, and after that we started going together a little bit. But it wasn't long, and he had to go to service, so I was left home alone.
The time you left in the service, how many years was that? Did you know each other before?
I'd say about a year.
Yeah, not even a year, I don't think.
Yeah. So you just had a little minor series of dates, and what happened when Grandpa left for the service? How did you decide to keep in touch with each other, or you weren't engaged at that point, were you?
No, I went into service, and the date I went, September 21st, 1942, and I told her I was leaving for service, and if she'd be my girlfriend, and if I could write her and that.
I would write to him.
Yeah. So so when I got my 9-day leave before I went overseas, I come home and I dated her a few times, but she had
we couldn't date because I had scarlet fever.
Yeah.
And at that time, we were quarantined when we had scarlet fever, so nobody could come in the house, and just my mother and I were in there. My dad and the whole family had to move out. But Frank come in through the basement window so nobody could see him coming. Because it was toward the end of my illness. So anyway, we got to see each other that way. Otherwise, I didn't date him. And our dates were like, we'd go to a movie, and then we'd go out to the park and sit by the water
Mm-hmm.
and talk. You know how that goes.
Right.
Or do you?
A little bit.
And you know, when you're in service like that, well, we kept up writing to each other and got kind of close that way, you know. So
Our courtship really wasn't in person. It was mostly that writing.
And
And when he come home on his 30-day leave,
yeah,
that's when he give me a ring.
so from the time that Grandpa left for the service to the time that he gave you that ring, how much time had elapsed?
Probably 2 years.
yeah, not quite 2 years because I left in September of '42, and I come home in June of 1944. I was gone for near 2 years.
That
And
was,
that's when I asked her if she, you know, if she'd wait for me and be engaged.
So
Till
basically,
I
it
got
was
out.
2 years of, like Grandma said, more courtship by writing
mail.
through
Yeah,
mail.
by mail, yeah.
and
Yeah.
then he had a watchdog because my dad, if I thought of going out with other guys, my dad was right there to tell me I was stringing Frank along. I shouldn't.
So from the time that Grandpa gave you the ring to the time that Grandpa actually came home from the service, how much time had elapsed? And then when Grandpa got back, what happened from that point
You
on?
mean when he finally come home for good?
Yeah, for good from
Yeah,
for
he
good
come
from
home
the
in
service.
44. He come home in 46, in April of 46.
And he gave you the ring in what
He was
year?
just in 44.
So that's another 2 years.
Yeah, so I was engaged, but like I say, he was overseas and I was home. Like a lot of girls at that time.
So
Yeah.
Grandpa comes back in 1946. You've been
And-
engaged 2 years, and then what was the course of action once Grandpa
Well-
got back?
When I got back, it was April 2nd, 1946, that I got discharged. And I was working for the Sioux Line Railroad before I went in service. And I had a job promised to me when I got back. That was under the GI Bill. They had to give us a job, but we left. So I had a job to come back to. And so I had a job, and then I asked her if she'd be my wife, and we set the date on July 27th. And I was only home about 3 months, and we got married, and well, we've been together ever since. And we had a nice wedding at that time.
They
We-
weren't big weddings like they are nowadays. They
No.
were backyard affairs.
And where was the wedding
Yeah.
held?
The wedding was at St. Louis Church. And then after church, we went to the hotel. No, we went to have our pictures taken at Dundee Studio. And we had pictures taken, and then we went over to the Hotel Retlaw, which is now, I don't know what they call it now. It's been so many things. And we had a dinner for the immediate family. And then we had our reception at our home in the backyard. And all the neighbor ladies helped by bringing dishes to pass, potato salad, they made all that stuff. And we had our reception at home. And we were there, we were the last ones at our reception.
Tell her
11
what
o'clock
happened
at night.
when we wanted to leave.
He likes that part where Well, we went to leave and our car wouldn't start it. And I had asked him to put the car somewhere else so nobody would monkey with it. And the car would not start. We got in, and I was furious. And I says, I told you. I think that was our first little
That
spat.
argument.
And my dad come along, he says, no, he says, don't get all hot and bothered. He says, he took the rotor off the car so we couldn't get away without saying goodbye. He says, you don't think I was gonna let my little girl go without saying goodbye? Well, then that was all right.
When did the honeymoon occur, and where was it?
The honeymoon was we went up to Oshkosh to the Ralph Hotel.
Yep.
And that's where I lost it.
That's where you are.
That's where I lost it.
Well,
Well, that's a
I'll
good
give
point.
you credit, you had it.
So what year was that, and then who was your first child?
That was in 1944 that we got married. No, 1946. 46 that we got married. And 10 months later, little Kathy come along, which was your mother,
Yep.
our right arm today.
Yep.
So, and 15 months later, we had another little girl, which was Julie. And before your mother was 3 years old, we had 3 of them. We had Joel. And then we waited 10 years, we had a couple more.
And who are they?
Luke and Amy. And they're, at the time when I first decided, when we first found out we were gonna have another one. And after 10 years of not having that, it wasn't too welcome at first, but I wouldn't give a million for either one of them. Julie and Kathy were pretty close. They were 15 months apart. And I always used to dress them up in these little blue outfits. They were blue and they were trimmed with red. They were little jumper suits like. And I could put them out in the morning and Kathy looked like all nice and cleaned up. And well, they were both nice and cleaned up. And 10 minutes after they were out, Julie looked like she had went through hell and back. And Kathy, at the end of the day, she was still neat as a pin. That was the difference in them. And Joel, when he come along, he had the eczema so bad that was.
Was that right when he was pretty much after he was born that it was evident right away, or?
When he was a baby, yeah, he had it, and he had it until, well, he still got it, but he had it bad, and his face would just weep, be like beef steak.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the point I never even took him anywhere. I just wanted to stay home with him. But about a year and a half, I found something, and I don't know if it was his age or the fact that I found something that helped him. And he cleared up pretty good. And from then on, he wasn't too bad.
For the girls, I worked a night shift at the sewer line, so I had all day with Julie and Kathy, and I used to take them out to the park. I used to do a lot with them. Started thinking about building a house because things were, we're starting to have more children, and we're living in back of her mom and dad's place where he fixed the garage up for a living place for me and Violet, and we had Kathy back there, and it was a bedroom and front room was all in one. It had a coal burning stove to keep warm and a bathroom and a little kitchen. It was real nice. And then 1948, her mother's dad uh,
He died.
died, and so she inherited a place down on Division Street, where they moved down on Division Street, 318 West Division, and so me and Ma moved up into the big house, and so that was quite a feat, you know. We had more room, and so we stayed there 6 years until we built our home. And me and the father-in-law, we was out looking for houses, you know. And but them days there wasn't too many of them. The ones that were for sale wasn't worth talking about. So I had a little money saved up from service, where when I was in service I spent most of my time overseas and didn't have no place to spend no money because there was nothing around. And so
We decided to build a home.
we built a home. My dad had this land here where we're living right now, and he told us boys that I was the oldest, I'd have my choice of the lots. So I took the lot next to him, and my brother took the end up to the railroad tracks. So 1952 we built this home and been here ever since.
But when we got Belle, she was our German Shepherd. I got her for my dad. My dad had had a stroke, and I thought she'd be a nice companion for him. And she's just a puppy. But he didn't take to that. So I said, well, you guys got a dog now. And that was their main dog. And we had her for 10 years. And she was a good old faithful dog. And she used to even babysit for me. But she didn't take to that too long. She got the hang of that. When she seen me come out the back door with the old wash cart and stuff, she knew she was going to have to sit with the baby while I come in the house to wash. So she'd go into her house, and I couldn't get her out anymore. She got smart. And Frank took her to she lost all the use of her back legs. She had that dysplasia. And so he took her when she was 10 years old. We had her put away. And then we didn't have a dog until Amy and Luke were a little bit older, and they wanted the dog. And he said, no more dogs. And I said, well, we really should have. The other kids had their dog, we should have a dog for her. So we got Tina. And Tina was a little schnauzer, which I prefer the German Shepherd, but Tina got to be quite the thing around here. And we had her for 10 years also. But I remember when we went and got her, we didn't tell the kids we were getting. We just told them to get the dishes done, and we were going to go and we'd be right back. We had somewhere we had to go, and we brought that dog home. And they were happy with her.
Where did you get Tina from?
We got Tina from
Risa.
Resup's. Jerry Resup's mother and dad. And he's a fellow that played football with Joel on Fond du Lac Cardinals team. They were football players together. And they raised these dogs. And that's where we got Tina. Kathy, the eldest, graduated in 1965. And I didn't know too much about the boyfriends. And there weren't too many boyfriends brought around. But I met a few of them. And all of a sudden one night she come home and she woke me up, which she didn't usually do. But she woke me up and sat on the end of my bed and she says, I think I met the man I'm going to marry. And I asked her who it was, and she said it was Mike Brown. And it just happened that I used to belong to a Fat Ladies Club, Weight Watchers, and his mother was in there too. And we didn't even know that they knew each other, but when we finally met, we realized that, and she liked Kathy and I liked Mike. We thought they were a good pair. I still think they're a good pair. They go together good there.
When did they get married? Do you remember?
They got married August 23rd, 1969.
Yesterday was their.
And it was their
anniversary.
34th anniversary yesterday, yes. And I know that 34 years because they got a little guy that they had after they were married. He's 33. So that's the way I keep track of the dates. And Kathy's been our right arm for a long time. She just helps us with anything, and she takes us to doctor's appointments, and she does a lot for us. Julie is married to Jerry Gill, but she's been married to him for, I really don't even remember how long they've been married. 1987, I think. They got married, or 88. 1988, I think they got married. And they don't have any children. And they don't have any pets.
They got a little woodworking business, a little
But
hobby
they got a
shop.
little woodworking business, and Julie is busy in her backyard, and if you'd see it, she's got all kinds of little things, and she goes rummaging, and she buys old pails and old ladders stuff, and she puts them out in her yard, and she puts plants and flowers on them. She's got it looking quite nice.
Got
She's-
quite a creative streak
Yeah.
in her.
And she's made a lot of little knickknacks, birdhouses and things, and she's made quite a bit of money off of them. She's got a good little business there. And last but not least, our Amy. We don't see too much of her. We'd like to see more of her, but she lives in the east, and so that's when the kids move away, you just kind of, you don't lose track of them, but you miss out on a lot because you can't see them as much as you'd like. And it's hard for them because they're working all the time. They can't travel. She's married to a very nice fella whom we don't know too well yet because they've only been married since February 17th, 2000, when she retired from service. Then they got married. And they have a nice home out there, and they have a beautiful German Shepherd, which I would give my eye teeth to see, but I guess I won't. Todd said he's pretty nice guy.
Shiner.
Shiner. Yeah. And she's got a pretty good, nice guy, Bill, she's married to. And I'm pretty proud of Amy. She's made quite a life for herself, and she's gone far, and she made a good living for herself.
She's had several. You can say she's gone far. I know she's been into Turkey and Korea.
Yeah, she's seen a lot of
Germany.
places. She was stationed in Germany for 2 years, and she was in Turkey and Korea.
Loki was down in Milwaukee, had to move down there, and then he was going with Mary Sauer, and then they decided to get married, and they got married on September 22nd, 1990. And then 2 years later, along comes Dallas, and he was born in 1992, and that same year, he gets a call from Fond du Lac Fire Department that he already had his name in, and they wanted to interview him for the job as fireman. And by God, I think it was August 6th, 1992, where he come and he got hired by the Fond du Lac Fire Department. And then they decided to buy a house, and we were looking around for houses for quite a while. He took me with him, and I told him what, the ups and downs on buying a house, and we seen a lot of homes that wasn't worth thinking about. But then he found a nice house out in North Fond du Lac where he was interested in, and he put a bid in on it, and he got it. So he was out there a few years, and then he got acquainted with the fire department boys, and they all had 2 jobs, and he started helping other firemen build houses and this and that, and learning the trade and learning how to do stuff. And he got quite good at it. And finally, there was a fireman, he had some land out on Town Hall Road out by El Dorado, and he decided that he wasn't going to build on it, so he was telling Luke about it, and Luke says, I'll buy that property. And so Luke bought that property, and so last year he started building his own house on there, and he's right on top of a hill, and got a nice view, and a nice place out there, and a big place, and a lot of room to roam, and he's quite happy with it. He saved himself a bundle by doing a lot of work himself and his buddies that help each other out, and it didn't cost him a bunch of money for labor, because he had a lot of help, and he pays them guys back. And so that's where he is to this day, and he's finally getting things all settled up, and kind of settling in now, doing landscape and that's the next big job. And then other than that, got things pretty well made. I don't know, I think that was 1969 or something like that. And I got him a job. He asked me if I could speak up for him and get a job on the road. So by God, I knew the superintendent of the shops, Eddie Beyer, and I asked him if Joe would get on the road, and he said sure. So Joe started firing. He was making pretty good money, but he wasn't home much. And well, being a young fellow like he was, that didn't enthuse him too much, because he liked his free time. So I think he went to down there in Chicago. He worked there for quite a while, and then he decided, I think, that he was going to go back to school. And some more or another, he went to school, and like I said before, it just didn't pan out. So he comes home, and he gets a job with Winnebago Distributing Company, delivering beer and kegs of beer and cases to these taverns and surrounding areas. And then wasn't too long, he got interested in a girl, and name was Barb, which he eventually married. And after he got married, he wasn't making enough money to support a wife and that, and he needed more money. So he asked me if I could speak for him again and get him out in the shops. He'd like to be a carman like I was. And I said, geez, Joe, I said, I don't know. I said, you quit there now, and I said, I hate to go back to see Ed about it, but I'll see anyhow. So me and Joe went in to see Eddie Beyer and told him that he'd like to be a carman. He'd like to work in a car shops. And then Ed right away said, well, God, he said, we spend a lot of money on you learning the trade of the fireman, and you come up and quit. And he says, all I know, he ain't gonna quit again. Well, he says, I'm married now, and I gotta stick with the job. And so, which he did. And so Ed took a chance on him, and he started out laboring, and finally he started serving his time for being a carman, which was 4 years. Everything went all right until the layoffs started coming, and then pretty soon the merger, and then there's where he was. He got laid off, and they offered him a buyout. And so much money for the buyout, he'd have to give up all his rights and this and that for the buyout. And which he did. Then he went down to Chicago, and he worked for 2 years down there in the intermodule line of the railroading. He was down there for 2 years, and he got sick and tired of running back and forth to Chicago on the weekends. So finally, I guess they had an opening out in Phoenix, Arizona. Put his name in there, and lo and behold, they said they'd hire. In January of 1987, he moved out there. In the meantime of all this happening, all them years, Barb provided him with 4 nice girls, and they right now they all turned out real good, and they're happy being out in Arizona as far as I know. And so we used to go out and visit them every year for 14 years. We spend 2 or 3 months of winter time out there, and we enjoyed every bit of it. And but finally age crept up on us, and pretty soon we couldn't travel anymore, so it's been 2 years since we've been out there. And I'd like to go out there again, but I don't think it's in the cards. And so we got a nice home out there, built a new home, got a horse now and a trailer, and very nice. Look, there goes a woodchuck. And very nice home in that out there, and he's got to come and visit us now when he wants to see us. And that's about it.
What did you used to grow in the days when you were...
Oh God, we used to grow potatoes and cucumbers and kohlrabi, a lot of kohlrabi plants.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to plant 200-300 of them. The kids used to eat them like apples, which they were good. And I had beans, and you name it, I had it. But then as years went by, the garden started getting smaller, family started getting smaller, and we didn't need all them vegetables and that.
How did the rabbits like the kohlrabi?
Oh, the rabbits, they loved them. I had to build a fence around them, and I still do, to keep the rabbits out. They're a hard thing to keep out. The only thing that keeps them out is a fence. And I just can't do that anymore, so I just got tomato plants in and peppers, and don't have to put no fence up for them because the rabbits don't bother them too much. Okay, well, I built the shed in 1953. We built the house in 52, and I needed a place to store my lawnmower and the tools and that for the garden, and I didn't have no garage or breezeway on the house at the time, so I built the shed in 53, and all out of Sioux-line lumber, and as you can see, it's still in good shape. And after all these years, all I had to do was keep raising it up a little bit because it started settling, and every year it started settling a little more, and I had to add a little more to it. But finally, it finally got to where it wasn't sinking anymore. So in the last few years, it's been staying right where it is, and it takes care of the stuff that I don't have to handle in the garage. And then 1964, I built a breezeway and a garage, added that on the house, and then we had a place to store our car, which we didn't have before, which has stayed outside in all kinds of weather, and that was a big plus for us. And to this day, it's in pretty good shape. And Luke, he just got the clothesline poles out, and they've been in there 50 years. And I put them in myself, and I put them in to stay. And he found that out when he took them out. He had quite a time with them, and hard to get out of there. But now his new place where he's going to use them same posts, and his wife Mary appreciates that, so she can hang out her wash in fresh air and dry all our laundry, which gives it a better smell and so on and so forth. Fresh smell, and that way don't have to use the dryer all the time. There isn't much in the shed. I got a little wood in there what I used to cut down the last tree, and I don't cut no grass anymore. And Luke, he does all the outdoor work for me now, and I appreciate that we still maintain our own home for the time being. So that's about the deal on the shed. Okay, here's we had the barrels, and I used to catch the water and use it for the garden and the flower beds and that. But now I haven't got much of that to do anymore, so I use the water, it comes out, and I drill some holes down in the bottom of the barrel so it leaks out. So if I want any water, all I got to do is pull this up, put a 5-gallon pail there, then I have water. But we don't use that much anymore, and I don't do much watering. And the same way with the picnic table, that served us a good many years, and I got it covered up right now, or I haven't been out much to use it, and I think that's the way it's going to stay for a while. And I built that all out of two-line lumber, and we enjoyed it for a good many years. Like Luke bought us a screen house. That's what it was, a screen house. We had that up there for quite a few number of years, and then, well, finally you gotta put it up and down, and finally we got up there in age and got to be a job, so we just got rid of it. And that's why that slab is sitting there. Gee,
When's the last time you've been on Spider Patrol?
not at all this year.
Why not?
I can't do it anymore, Todd. Geez, if I'd known this, I'd had somebody sweep that off of there.
So what is Spider Patrol anyway?
Spider Patrol is when you get them spiders, they make an awful mess. And I always got them. I went out with a broom and a flashlight at night. And I caught them with the broom, and I got the broom and got them, and then put them on the cement and then stepped on them. And I got a lot of spiders that way. And but lately I can't do that anymore, and that's another job I have to give up that I can't handle anymore.
Did you used to keep records on how many spiders you killed?
Oh God, I don't know. It was in the hundreds that I used to get every year. Some nights I used to get 20, 30, 40, 50 of them. And but then toward the end I didn't get too much because I finally got them all, you know. And but this mess here, I didn't even know was here. And I'll have to have somebody come and sweep them off of there.
I wonder who that might be.
That looks like hell. Well, maybe Julie, she comes over and she helps out a lot. And so hopefully we can get that off of there. That don't look too good. We're standing at the mailbox here, and that's awful handy. We used to have it on the front porch, but when I closed the front porch in, I closed that front porch in 1971. And so I built the garage in breezeway in 1964, so I put this mailbox here, so when we go and get the mail, we don't have to be outside, keeps us out of the weather, and don't have to bother getting out into it for the mail. And the same way with the paper. Hi Dave, they either put it in the mailbox or in the breezeway. Okay, this is the porch. We enclosed that. I enclosed that in 1971. And boy, we sure enjoyed it all these years until 1997. 1997, we got air conditioning. And so since we got air conditioning, we don't use the porch very much. And so I don't get out on it much, because with air conditioning you gotta shut all the windows and this and that. So hopefully maybe this fall, after the hot weather goes, we can open up the windows and I can enjoy the porch again. But we spent a lot of good times on that porch. It was one of the best things I ever did.
We're at the World May I Championships here, where the winner stands to win a possible $1.
You should say lose 95 cents.
Yeah.
No, I don't want that.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah.
Zooming in to see if Grandma cleaned out her eardrums this morning.
You dealt so fast. You want to look?
I already looked.
I'll give you
He's zooming in on it.
roll.
don't zoom in on Grandpa's here then.
Oh, yeah. Zooming in over on the toaster there, we got a MGD bottle, ketchup bottle, peanut butter, another beer bottle, 4 bananas.
Okay.
Guess we might as well get that ace out of there, huh? Bunch together.
Okay.
They claim I'm a computer geek.
Are you a
I
hacker?
spend a lot of time on the computer. I don't know what is a hacker. I don't try and get into anything,
No.
if that's what you mean. No.
But you got a creative streak though too, and I think that's
I make-
looking back. I see Julie has it, and I think I have it, and you. I think we know where we got it, and that's you. That you
I
like
like
the
to
poetry and the cards, and
I like to try and rhyme. I make my own greeting cards. I make my own verses on them. And I've got several poems that I've put into a book. In fact, the girls have asked me for copies of them so that they can make their own books. And,
do your poems get published at all, like magazines? or-
Not really. I send them up to Action Advertiser, and they put them in the Maturity Times magazine, which is a monthly paper for older people. And they can relate to what I write about sometimes, about your pills and about your aches and pains. So I've had I think about 15 of them in the paper. And I have a friend that writes too, and I've always collected her poems, and now I've got our poems all together.
You're quite avid emailer. You get on the internet, and I find it sort of amazing that at your age you took to the computer so well. Did you ever think maybe 10 years ago or even 5 years ago that you could ever get into the computer thing like you did, or?
No, it's good I didn't, because I spent way too much time on the computer, and nobody would have got supper or had clean clothes or anything else if I'd have had a computer years ago. Years ago. No, I spend a lot of time on the computer. Sometimes I fall asleep there and just fill pages and pages with D's as my fingers push down on the keys. Another one of my hobbies is the organ, which I got in 1979, my first organ. And when I first got that, I was as bad on that as I was on the computer, because I would sit on that from 6 o'clock after supper until maybe 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
How did Grandpa survive?
Well, he couldn't hear, so it didn't bother him, and I didn't play too loud at night like that. And the first week, after the first week, I had bruises across the back of my legs from sitting at the organ bench. That's how much time I spent on the organ. And then eventually, a friend of mine got me playing up at senior center, not the senior center, St. Francis Home. And I would go for sing-along every day. Every week I would play on Wednesday mornings. I'd play for sing-along until I got the point I couldn't walk like that anymore, so I had to give that up, and I miss it. I wish I could get back to it. Now I'm lucky if I get there to play once in a while to keep my fingers and things in. But I still do play it. Lucy and Gordy have been our best friends for many years. Julie was married to their son for a while, and we became friends, and we've been friends ever since. And we still keep in touch on the computer, and they stop by about once a week or so and visit us. So We've had a lot of good times with them in Vegas and in Bowler and up at our overnighters, what we call our overnighters. We pack up our cheese and crackers and booze, and we'd have our little nightly, before we go to bed at night, we'd all go over to one of the rooms and we'd have snacks before we went to bed. Had to kind of calm us down from all that machine playing.
Tell us about some of the stories you might have about Gordy and Lucy out there in Vegas, or anything that comes to your mind.
Well, we had a lot of laughs, and when we'd get laughing, we would really laugh. And everybody would be looking to see what we were laughing at. And we'll never ever forget the time that we went to the California. Was a casino down at the end of the, not at the end of the strip, it was out downtown. And we went there and we had supper. And when we got done eating supper, the waitress came and she said, "Would you like dessert?" And we said, "Oh, we're too full for dessert. We didn't want no dessert because we didn't want to pay no more for dessert." And we were all getting out of our booth to go. And she says, "Well, I'm sorry, you're not going to have dessert." She says, "It comes with the meal." And as she said that, nobody turned their head. They just turned right around and slid right back into the booth. And we all started laughing so hard. And the people all around us, well, they didn't know what we were laughing at, but we get talking about that and we laugh so hard that we cry. And we've had a lot of them laughs like that with them.